Welcome to Naptime Nuggets number 61, activities and games to increase focus and attention skills in young children. I am so glad you're here. Do you know why? Because it'd be boring without you, but also because what you do matters. You make such a huge difference when you do the games and activities and you have the responses to young children that helps them build that focus. They get that skill. And then they bring that skill to their lives. And that's a skill that not only helps today, but tomorrow when they're in school and when they go into the workforce later. So you are appreciated and what you do makes all the difference. So let's jump in. What is being able to focus? Remember, it's being able to concentrate, remain alert and oriented for a period of time despite external and internal distractions. So last week we talked about that, and that's part one. And we talked about strategies to get young children's attention. So if you didn't get this, head over to my blog by this afternoon. It's ready to go. I just need to get it published. There will be this freebie right on the blog that you can download that has 8 different reasons kids are lacking focus and attention skills and over 40 different things that you can do about it. So that's there, that's ready for you. And so what we're doing today is we're focusing on the fact that attention is highly malleable. So yes, there's responses that you can have when children are having difficulty with focus, but there's also things you can do before they're having difficulty to build that really important life skill. If kids can pay attention and remember things and really take in information for a long period of time, they'll do well in school and in life. Whereas if their focus is kind of all over the place, they might end up like me some days better than others. I find myself jumping from thing to thing and sometimes really not getting where I need to go because I'm lacking focus. So it can happen to adults, it can happen to kids, but what you do when they're young can build the brain pathways they need in order to have more focus and attention throughout their life. So very exciting. Remember, the more you work those muscles, just like going to the gym, the more you lift those weights, the stronger you become. So the more we work their muscles, their self-control muscle, their weighting muscle, the more able they are to do it. So what I want to do today is give you a ton of different ideas in a short amount of time for building that muscle. So you have the power to do this, and you can take activities outside of the moment and you can do things in the moment that are going to help. So really, when it comes to focus and attention skills, first I'm going to focus on in the moment, and then I'm going to focus on games and activities all today. By the time you leave today, me, Raylene Osberg from Thriving Together, will have brought you numerous ideas just in about the next 10 minutes so that you are equipped with fun and interesting activities and adult responses that will promote attention skills. Here you have a child. They interrupt. It's normal for kids to interrupt, especially by the time they get 3, 4, 5 years old, and they want to tell on their friends. They start to know what the rules are. They start to get a feeling of right and wrong, and they want to come let you know when anything's not going their way, when they don't appreciate what's happening between 2 other kiddos. If they just want to tell something that they notice, they just want to start a conversation with you, they come over and they interrupt. So let's say you're right in the middle of talking to another adult. So I'm going to give you several different responses you can have. And what I want you to think about is which one is actually going to promote self-control, that internal sense of, I can do this, I've got this. And then the ability to inhibit your behavior so that you don't interrupt anyway. Even if you can remember the rule, can you interrupt those impulses? So number 1, the adult might say, you need to wait because I said so. That's one response adults can have. It's very clear and it's telling them, I'm the adult, you're a kid, you do not interrupt me when I'm talking to another adult. Right? Second type of response you could have, wait. Here's some things you can do while you wait. So let's say you take time at circle time and you talk about this growing this waiting muscle and how sometimes you really feel like, oh, you want to come get Miss Raylene. It's really important to you to come get me right now, but I'm talking to somebody. What can you do? So you let them know you can come over, put your hand on my arm, and then I'll notice you and I'll tap your hand and you'll know when I'm done talking, I'll get to you. And then you can teach them, what can they do while they're waiting? Can they wiggle their toes in their shoes? Can they squeeze a ball? Can they have one of those soft little rocks that they could hold in their pocket that they could hold on to? That can be calming for kids. What can they do while they're waiting? So then they come over to interrupt you, and you're going to say, oh, you're going to remind them about waiting, and then maybe give them a cue of what you want them to do, or, right? So you're going to give them stuff that they can do in that moment. A third option, you might say, oh, wait, turn to talk to your friend and then say, wow, you're doing so good at waiting. You are a super waiter. It's another response that I could have in that moment, right? And then a fourth response I could have, oh, you know what? Don't worry about waiting. I'll get you what you need. Those are all options. I can do any of those. So that gives you a feeling of, in the moment when you're having a response to a child, you have these different options. It's not right or wrong. It's if you're building the skills of focus and attention skills, then you want to go ahead and do more of those, the second and the third one. Okay, so that's in the middle of the moment. So you can also do things like you can play waiting games. So there's this waiting game where you're quiet. Let's say we're waiting at a stoplight, or we're sitting in a restaurant, we're waiting for the waiter to come. This is for 3 and older. So you can play this description game. So I would say something like, oh, I'm thinking of something furry. And they look at you. Am I outside or inside? Am I outside, inside animal? Outside. So they can ask yes, no questions, or they can ask specific. So what you do is the person keeps asking questions until they start to get an idea of what it is, and then they guess what it is. So you might say, do I hop? Yes. Am I furry? Yes. Do I live outside or inside? Either. So you keep asking questions, and do you guys have a picture of what I might be talking about right now? A bunny rabbit. So here we are, we're stuck waiting for something. You can play a game like this, and that gets kids 3 and older to start going, wait, what is it that she's talking about? And they're trying to really imagine, they're trying to get a picture of it, and it's fun. So what they're actually doing is working their brain. They're working their waiting muscle during that fun interactive game. So this is just one example of something you can do to help. There's many different activities. So I'm going to show you this video, and it's going to give you a lot of feeling about this. So take a minute to watch this. You're not going to believe it. It's a great game that you can do to promote attention skills. Here we go. Isn't that an interesting game? So that game really shows you that little boy is having to work so hard to do that simple little task. But that's because kids, when they're young, they don't have the ability to switch between rules really quickly. So it takes them extra time. So that's an example of one of the games that's called the day-night task. So you literally can play this as a game where first you practice having them say sun and moon, but then you switch it, where they're supposed to say moon when they see the sun, or they're supposed to say sun when they see the moon, or you can do using day or night. So it's just one example. So these and the other games I'm going to show you, actually when they did research on it, they found that after 4 weeks, kids outperformed the control group. And this was in a very small amount of time that they had to do this. So for those of you who are doing preschool in a smaller amount of time, maybe even just half days, you really still can do it. Look at this, twice weekly for 30 minutes. After 8 weeks, it had made a huge difference. So it's very exciting that these games actually matter. So here we go. I want you to try this with me. Say roast 10 times. Are you ready? Say it, I mean it, out loud. And you can have the kids practice this too. So I'm going to give you a feel of it. Say it, roast 10 times. Okay, you ready? Roast, 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 roast. What do you put in a toaster? So you might have said toast, but that's not what you put in a toaster. You put bread in a toaster. Now, the people in my session who do this, they report that if they were able to say bread, you put bread in a toaster, that's because they had done it before. Or maybe they're in a job where they have to stop and think before they speak. So they naturally stopped before they let themselves jump to a conclusion. So let's try it one more time. This time, really focus. I want you to do this, okay? Really get your brain wrapped around this. So say 10 times. 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. What is an aluminum can made out of? You might have said tin, but it is aluminum. So this time, before you answer, what I want you to do is stop, take a deep breath, and think about the answer before you speak. And all this is working your brain right now. So it should be. So say joke 10 times. Joke, 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 joke. What is the white of an egg called? So if you did it really, really fast, you would say yolk. But if you take a moment and you take a breath, did you come up with white? It's called the white of the egg. So that's an example. These are called auto response override games, and it's one way to get kids to practice focusing and having attention. Isn't that silly? But it works. It trains their brain over time to do it. So you can do this with toe tapping. So you tap your toe once, and they're supposed to tap their toe twice. So do it with me if you can. Tap it once, and then twice, and then once, and then twice. And then now we're going to do it where I tap once. I'll tap like this with my hand, and you tap twice when I tap once, or vice versa. See how you do that? So I go, and then you go twice. And then if I go, you do it once. Do you see how you have to? Now, many of you probably have kids running around, you're distracted, and so this might be really hard for you. But if you play these games with kids, it starts to get where they can do it better and better. You're literally forming executive functions. You're helping them get better thinking skills when you're doing this. So you can do Simon Says, do the opposite, same idea. So Simon Says, touch your shoulder. But when you say that, they're supposed to touch your knee, and then you can do it the opposite. So these are just some examples of games that you can play. You can also do this with red light, green light. So you say green light, and everybody starts going, and then you say red light, and everybody's supposed to stop. Green light, red light, green light, red light, right? You practice with them for a while, and then you do the opposite. So then you do it the reverse, where you go red light, and they're supposed to start running. And you say green light, and they're supposed to stop. So these are examples of fun ways that you can really get their brain working that waiting muscle, that attention and focus muscle. Isn't that crazy? So it makes those connections in their brain, and it teaches skills. So here's an interesting one. You take a feather. Are you ready? I don't even know if I can do this. So go out, buy some feathers, get on Amazon, buy some feathers, and then watch this. Ah, it fell. Okay, here we go. Oh, it fell again. The more I work this, the more I practice, the better I'll get. But it takes focus. I have to focus in order to be able to do it. So that's an example of how you can work this skill really in fun ways. Don't forget, when it comes to learning, the more senses involved in the learning, the more goes into their brain. So engage the senses. So let's say you're going to go ahead and you're going to read them a book about sharing. Why can't they hold something in their hand while you're reading the book? And then maybe they take turns with the person next to them sharing as you're reading the book about sharing. It's more likely to go in their brain if they have something in their hands to touch, especially if that's related. So let's say I'm singing a song about Old MacDonald had a farm. Do I have a little cow that somebody can hold? Do I have a little duck somebody can hold? So when we're doing the quack of the duck, they can hold the duck up. That's going to engage their brain more. It's going to help them be more focused. And the more focused they are, the easier it becomes to concentrate. So you're literally working the muscle. So let's say you're going to go outside and you don't want them to run, or you're going to go down the hallway from one classroom to the other, and you really want them to walk. Or let's say you're even going to have them go, you've been singing to them or having a book time, and now you're going to have them go to the snack table. So instead of just like, okay, everybody, let's wash our hands and get ready for snack, if you add novelty to it, if you add something engaging or interesting, they're a lot more likely to be able to focus. So you might say, do you want to gobble like a turkey or walk like a big elephant over to the to wash your hands for snack? So if they're being a turkey, gobble, 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 and they're walking, not only are they thinking about a turkey and the fact that a turkey gobbles and modeling that, but they're focused. They're more engaged because it's novel, because it's interesting. So this link right here is one of the links I'm going to put on my blog, and it has, I don't know, maybe 30 different ideas, which I love because I can't think of these ideas when I'm caring for young kids. My brain is fuzzy. I'm stuck on, we need to go to snack and we need to go snack now. But that doesn't help kids focus. That's my adult brain. With kids, if it's fun, if it's engaging, if it's novel, they're more interested, their brain is more focused, they're building those focus skills. Sound good, you guys? These are examples of some of the activities, and I love the idea of making everything a self-control game. So you got to get their shirt on, right? Or you got to get their coat on to go outside. Hold your hands on your head and see if you can hold them there. As long as I do these buttons, hold them there. Can you do it? Can you do it? So you're doing the buttons and you're like trying to get them to hold those hands on their head. And you're, even afterward, you can say, oh, you wanted to take your hands down, but you didn't. You had self-control. You held those hands up there. So because you're giving them something to do and you're making it fun and interesting, they're going to practice. They're going to want to do it. They're going to want to hold their hands up there. But they're going to also be building the brain skills. That's what we want, because the more focus and attention skills they have, the more able they are to remember the rules and stick with your lessons, the more likely they are to learn the lessons they need to in order to have self-control. So I hope you got some great ideas. I have one more big thing for you today, and it's these 2 short videos, very, very short. But what I want you to do when you're watching them is think about, what does the adult do, and how does that help the child maintain and grow their focus and attention in that moment. Here we go.
Slow. No. That's fast? Wow. Oh, how do we move slow? This. Please follow Miss Karen. And we're going to move very slowly, like butterflies.
Just like that.
Beautiful
butterflies.
We're going to fly to the door. Outside. Everybody flew to the door. Very nicely. Where are you? I think you're in the red classroom, but if you want to know where you stand, right there is good. Okay? Everybody should be facing which way?
This way.
This way. If you face this way, do you go outside that way?
No. You face the door.
If I face this way, am I going outside?
No, you face the door. Not this way.
What about if I want to go this way?
No, this way.
Why this way?
Yes.
Why?
No. Don't go this way. Don't go on the left. No. No way.
We face this way because this is the way we're walking. Thank you for telling me. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Come on, Jaden.
Put your finger on the wall. In the hall. Put your finger on the wall. We're not marching. We're walking. We're using our walking feet. Down the hall. Put your finger on the wall. In the hall. Are you listening? Put your finger on the wall. In the hall. Look high.
Finger on the wall as you're walking down the hall. Put your finger on the wall in the hall. Great job.
Did you see how all the kids became very focused? So she was very clearly modeling, moving slower. And it not only got all of the children to follow her, it also wrangled in the one who wasn't following her. Did you notice that? And what is she doing? Think about it. She's making it fun and interesting, but she's also really modeling what she wants them to do. So come on, we need to go. Let's move slowly like we're flying through the air. So we've actually done this out at the farm. So our dogs, every morning they go outside and they want to go chase the squirrels, and I have them sit at the door. I open up the door, they're sitting there waiting, and I used to go, okay, let's go. And they would run so fast that they would make all these scratches in our deck. Well, what I found out from watching this video, once I thought about it, I'm like, I wonder if I model something totally different, if the dogs will have a totally different response. Mirror neurons, right? We've talked about that. And so this morning I went to open up the door and I said, okay, let's move slow. And they were like, I started to move slowly out the door. Isn't that funny? But it worked, and they're dogs. Our kids are smarter. Our kids are smarter than dogs, so they will do the same. They will follow what it is that we are showing them to do. One more video. So watch the beginning of this toddler video and notice what he does to get the little child who's not focused and attending back in with them and focused.
Shh, be quiet, please sit down. Please sit down, please sit down. Shh, be quiet, please sit down. Listen, listen, listen. Oh, listen. Ready for time? Shh, be quiet, please sit down. Please sit down, please sit down. Shh, be quiet, please sit down. Listen, listen.
What do you think? Pretty cool, huh? What did he do to get their focus? You notice this, right? He's very calm. He keeps singing the song. He tries to be as clear as he can. So he says, sit down, listen, listen, listen. He's adding actions to it. Remember, the more senses, the more it's likely to go into their brain. And he was patient. If he would have stopped and said, come on, buddy, sit down, everybody would have turned to him, and maybe even some of the other kids would have started doing the same thing so that they could get attention too. So just making it novel and interesting, making it physical, giving some space there, singing, keep slowing it down, and that child just ended up turning around and wanting to be a part of that. Isn't that cool? So what I talked about today was all different sorts of activities that you can do to promote attention skills in young kids. What I'm doing on the blog, it should be up by the end of the day. I already have almost the entire thing ready for you guys, is I'll have a link to last week's cheat sheet, which is just going to be a great resource. And I'll also link to this article by Harvard, the Center on the Developing Child. It has infants and toddlers how to promote skills. And it has ideas for hide and seek and hiding things and finding it, playing peekaboo, finger plays, and other games that really promote those attention skills and self-control skills. Isn't that great? So I'm going to link to that too, because I didn't have really a lot of time today to focus on the infant and toddler age. So I want to make sure that you get some of that too. So thank you so much for joining me today. Just remember, kids need practice. Just as babies will need physical exercise, they will need tummy time. They will need a chance to move and roll and push themselves around. And it's going to take a lot of work before they're running and hopping and jumping. It's going to take a long time until they have focus and attention skills. It takes time. So what are the next steps? Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not done that yet. Friend me on Facebook if you haven't yet, and join the Focus and Self-Control Facebook group. There's this video, there's videos from the past that are all collected there, along with other resources you can access right away. So join me on Facebook. And remember, when you're feeling stressed out, tired out, you know, wishing maybe the kids would just behave better, we all have those days. Remember, it takes a big heart to shape little minds. The work that you're doing takes our heart, our soul, and it takes a lot of work. And right now, during these stressful times, it's even harder. So give yourself a lot of grace, a lot of love, a lot of pats on the back for all the things that you are doing. And remember, what you do matters. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week.